My name is Tim. I have 2 sons. Tom is 9 and Ben is 5. This happened 2 weeks ago, and I still don't sleep with the lights off. It started with something harmless. Ben wanted a 6-foot teddy bear. Not a normal one, not the kind you win at fairs. He wanted one that was taller than him, taller than the couch. Something he could have as a friend. I told him he could have it if he behaved for the week, and so he did. That's when the 3 of us went to the small toy shop on the edge of town. It wasn't a chain store, just one of those narrow, dusty places that smells faintly of old fabric and wood polish. As we were looking around the shop, in one corner we saw it. 6 feet tall, beige, long arms, a stitched smile, and black glass eyes. It was proportioned strangely. Its limbs looked just slightly too long. Its head tilted forward in a way that made it seem aware. Ben pointed at it immediately. I grabbed it, and then we went towards the shopkeeper. He was an older man with tired eyes, and he watched me carefully as I dragged it to the counter. He didn't smile. After scanning it, he leaned in slightly and said, "Be careful with that one." I laughed awkwardly. Why? He paused, then shook his head. That should have been enough. On the drive home, I kept checking the rearview mirror. The bear was wedged between my sons in the back seat. At one point, I could have sworn its head was angled toward Ben, watching him. But when I blinked, it was facing forward. I told myself it was the movement of the car. Ben insisted we place it in the living room. "He's a guest," he said. So we sat it upright on the sofa, facing the television. On the first evening, the lights flickered once, and the television turned on by itself. I put it down to wiring issues, but later that night, as I passed the living room on my way upstairs, I stopped. This teddy was no longer facing the television. It was facing the hallway, facing the stairs, facing me. I stood there for a long time. I had to rub my eyes, and when I opened them, the teddy was facing the TV again. The next morning, the living room was spotless. It hadn't been the night before. The boys had left toys everywhere. But now, everything was neatly arranged. The teddy was back in its original position, hands folded in its lap, watching. Strange occurrences began happening in fragments. The kitchen tap would be running when no one had used it. Cupboards were left open, and the TV sometimes turned on in the middle of the night. Sometimes I'd find Teddy in a different seat entirely. Not dramatically moved, just repositioned. Subtle enough that I questioned my own memory. Then came the photographs. We had gone to the park one afternoon, just the three of us. No bear. Later that night, I looked through the photos on my phone. In the background of one image, far behind us near a tree, was a tall, beige shape. Another photo, taken at a small restaurant, under the table, barely visible between the shadows. There were two black glass eyes. As I zoomed in, it looked like fabric, like stitching, and it looked like it was smiling. I didn't show the boys. The shopkeeper's words replayed in my head. "Be careful with that one." That's when the activity escalated. At 2 a.m, I reviewed the security cameras I had installed throughout the house. I didn't say anything to the boys. I didn't want to frighten them. The footage from midnight showed the living room. The teddy sat on the couch. It was still unmoving. That's when the screen glitched. Just 2 seconds of static when the image returned. The teddy was standing directly in front of the camera. Its head slightly tilted, looking straight into the lens. I checked the timestamp. 12:03 a.m. I rewound it. It was the same glitch, the same movement. There was no transition, no visible motion. Just sitting, then standing, watching. I checked the upstairs hallway camera. Another glitch. Now it was at the top of the stairs. I checked my bedroom camera, and that was when my blood ran cold. It was standing at the foot of my bed, and I was asleep. I was completely unaware, and its head angled downward, as if studying me. I ran to the boys' room. Ben was missing, and Tom, he was still asleep. I shook him awake. As he woke up, he looked around, confused. He asked me a question. "Where's Ben?" He stared at me. "I thought he was with you." I heard a sound from my room. Tom and I quickly ran there. We then reviewed the footage, and we saw ourselves running in at 2:27 a.m. That's when the camera upstairs had glitched again. When it recovered, we saw Teddy in the hallway, holding Ben in his arms while he was asleep. All of a sudden, the screen cut out. When the footage resumed, both were gone. There was no recording of them leaving the house. There was no signs of any doors opening. No windows broken. Nothing. Just absence. The police also saw the footage. They searched around the woods, the roads, the nearby lake. They didn't find anything. They didn't even see any signs of forced entry, any fibers splitting, any footprints. The teddy bear was long gone, as was Ben. Even the shopkeeper's store from who we bought the teddy bear from, that was shut down. It's been 2 weeks. Tom stays with my mother now. He refuses to sleep alone. Sometimes when I drive home late from work, I see them across the street. under a flickering lamppost. Ben, holding hands with a 6-foot, beige-looking thing. Ben looks normal, almost peaceful. But now his head tilts the same way that Teddy's does. When I stop the car and step out to go and get them, they disappear every time. I went back to the park yesterday. I don't know why. Maybe there's a sense of denial. Maybe there's hope. Near the tree line, I saw something stitched into the bark. 4 words had carved deep. Special guest stays forever. I don't think it ever wanted the house. I think it wanted us. And I think it's waiting for the rest of us to come back. That first night, I didn't believe the shadows were real. It started with breathing. Not loud, not ragged. Just there. A slow, patient inhale from somewhere beyond my bedroom door. I lay frozen under my blanket, staring at the faint glow of my alarm clock. 3:17 a.m. The red numbers burned into the darkness. I told myself it was the house settling. Old pipes, wind in the vents. Then the breathing stopped. And then something scratched softly at the wood of my door. I heard the stories before. Everyone had. A pale face in the dark. A carved smile too wide for any human jaw. Eyes that never blinked. A whisper in the night. Go to sleep. I used to laugh at them until he started coming to my house. The first sighting happened 3 weeks ago. I was in the kitchen grabbing a glass of water when I noticed the back door was open. Just slightly, enough for cold night air to snake across the tile floor. I was sure I had locked it. I stepped closer and saw him standing in the backyard. He wasn't moving, just staring through the glass. Moonlight painted him in silver. White hoodie, black pants, bare feet on frozen grass. And that face. That horrible, stretched grin carved into skin that looked too tight over bone. His eyes reflected the porch light like a predator's. I couldn't scream. He lifted one finger to his lips and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then he stepped backward into the dark. Gone. No footprints. No sign of forced entry. The police didn't take me seriously. They claimed it was teenagers probably playing a prank. But they didn't see the way the grass had bent. They didn't feel the air change when he vanished. But I did. And that's when I brought the camera. It was supposed to make me feel safe. A small black security camera mounted above my bedroom door. It connected to my phone. It had motion detection, night vision, two-way audio. If anything moved in my room while I slept, I would know. I tested it the first night. I walked around, waved at it, spoke into it. It was a clear image and it had perfect sound. I went to bed feeling almost confident. Then came 3:17 a.m. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. Motion detected. My heart slammed against my ribs. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Slowly, painfully slowly, I reached for my phone and opened the camera app. The live feed showed my bedroom. It was dark, quiet, empty. At that point I frowned, but then I saw it. At the edge of the frame near my closet door, a sliver of white fabric. Someone was standing just outside the camera's view, watching me. My chest tightened. The figure leaned slightly into frame. Just enough so I could see that pale face slide into view. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at me. Through the screen I could see myself sleeping in the bed. Except I wasn't asleep. I was staring at my phone, watching him watch me. His grin widened. He raised his hand, and slowly, painfully slowly, he waved. I gasped. In that instant, the live feed cut to static. I shot upright in my bed. Looking around, my room was empty. The closet door was closed. No white hoodie, no pale face, nothing. But the air smelled faintly of something metallic, like blood. After that night, he started appearing more often. Not just outside, but inside too. He was always just beyond the camera's angle. If I adjusted it, he'd stand somewhere else. If I moved it to face the window, he'd appear by the door. If I aimed it at the door, he'd be behind the curtain. It was like he knew exactly where it could see and where it couldn't. The footage was always the same. He never approached the bed. He just stood, watching, sometimes for hours. One night I reviewed the recordings from 3:17 to 4:45 a.m. He didn't move, he didn't blink, he didn't even shift his weight. He just stared. At me, at the camera, at both. I tried staying awake. I drank coffee until my hands shook. I sat in bed clutching a kitchen knife. At 3:16 nothing happened. At 3:17 my lights flickered. The camera notification buzzed. I didn't look at my phone this time. I looked at the door. And there he was, standing in the corner. Not on the screen, but in real life. The camera's tiny red light blinked. It was recording. He tilted his head at me like a curious animal. I tightened my grip on the knife. "Get out," I whispered. He took one slow step forward. My body locked. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. His voice slid into the room like a blade. Soft, broken, barely a whisper.
Why are you awake?
I tried to answer, but nothing came out. He took another step. Now he was at the foot of my bed. His grin stretched impossibly wider.
You're supposed to be asleep.
The camera fell from the wall. It hadn't been touched. It just dropped. It crashed onto the floor, and the red light shattered. Darkness swallowed the room, and I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. The camera lay in pieces beside my bed. My knife was gone, and carved into the wooden footboard there were 3 words.
Go to sleep.
I don't remember him touching it. I don't remember him leaving. But the message was real. The police came again. They dusted for prints, but found nothing. They took the broken camera, told me to consider therapy. I ordered another one that same day. This one I mounted in the corner of the ceiling, out of reach. I also installed cameras in the hallway, the living room, the kitchen. If he wanted to lurk, I'd see him coming. The first night after installation, I didn't even try to sleep. I sat in my living room with every light on, staring at the 4-screen monitor setup. Midnight, nothing. 1 a.m., nothing. 2 a.m., nothing. 3:16 a.m. My stomach knotted. At 3:17 a.m., all 4 screens went black at once. Not static, just black. My heart pounded so hard, I thought I'd pass out. Then slowly, one by one, the screens flickered back on. Living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Hallway. He was standing directly beneath the camera, looking up at it. His face filled the frame. His eyes were wide, unblinking, and that grin, that endless grin. He opened his mouth and spoke. The sound came through the monitor speakers, distorted, glitching.
You like to watch.
The hallway camera feed glitched violently. His face jerked unnaturally. Movements too sharp, too fast.
You think it makes you safe?
The screen cracked. Not physically, but like a spiderweb fracture across the image.
You're wrong.
All screens went black again. I screamed. The lights in my house shut off, every single one. I was swallowed in darkness. And then I felt breath on my neck. Warm, slow, patient. Go to sleep. I spun around, swinging wildly. My fist hit empty air. The lights flickered back on. The monitors returned. Hallway, empty. Living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Front door closed. Deadbolt locked. I was alone, except for one thing. On the living room wall, written in something dark and wet,
I'm always here.
I stopped leaving the house after that. I quit my job and I ordered groceries online. I couldn't risk him following me outside, or worse, bringing him back with me. The camera footage grew stranger. Sometimes he'd appear at times other than 3:17, standing in the kitchen, opening cabinets. Once, he stood in front of the camera for 6 hours straight, not moving. I played the footage back at high speed. He didn't twitch once, not even to blink. I zoomed in on his eyes. They weren't normal. They were too dark, too deep, like holes punched through reality. And once I saw something move inside them, like something looking out from behind his gaze. The worst night came last Tuesday. I fell asleep. I didn't mean to, but exhaustion dragged me under. When I woke, it was still dark. I felt wrong, like something was off. My room looked the same, but the air felt thicker, heavier. I reached for my phone, but there was no signal. My battery was at 100%, yet it had no service. The camera app wouldn't load. Then I noticed something in the corner of my ceiling. The camera was there, but it wasn't pointing at the room. It was turned, facing directly down at me. That wasn't how I installed it. Slowly, my eyes shifted towards a doorway. He was sitting in a chair beside my bed, and I don't own a chair. He was just sitting there, hands folded in his lap, watching me. Up close, his face was worse. The skin around his carved smile was torn and shiny. His lips were peeled back permanently, teeth exposed. His eyes were bloodshot but wide. So wide.
You're tired,
he whispered. I couldn't move. Tears streamed down my temples into my hair.
You fight it every night.
He leaned forward. The chair creaked softly.
But you always sleep.
His grin twitched.
And when you do,
He stood up slowly and walked to the camera. He reached up and turned it so it would face the wall.
then I can watch you properly.
He stepped back towards me. My vision blurred. My body felt heavy. Why? I managed to croak. His head tilted.
As long
he said softly.
I can't come all the way in.
Cold flooded my veins.
What does that mean?
His smile widened impossibly.
It means you shouldn't have bought the camera.
He leaned close to my ear.
So now I have to wait until you sleep.
His fingers brushed my forehead, ice cold, and everything went black. I woke up outside in my backyard. The grass was wet with dew. The sky was grey with early morning light. My house stood quiet behind me. The front door was wide open and I stumbled inside. Every camera was gone. Not broken, gone. Wires were hanging loose. Monitors were smashed. On the wall above my bed, carved deep into the plaster, there was a message.
You're getting sleepy.
And beneath it, a new message.
I'm almost in.
I haven't slept in 2 days. Every time I close my eyes, I see him standing closer. Each time I blink, he's nearer. He doesn't need the cameras anymore. I see him in reflections. In the TV screen, in the microwave door, in the dark surface of my phone. Always behind me. Always smiling. He doesn't attack. He doesn't rush. He's patient. He waits for the moment my body betrays me. Because he told me the truth. As long as I'm awake, he can't come all the way in. But I'm so tired. My vision doubles. Shadows stretch and twist. And sometimes, I hear breathing behind me. It's 3:16 a.m. right now. I'm telling you this because I'm scared I won't be able to fight much longer. My eyes keep closing. My head keeps dropping. I just heard something in the hallway. Soft footsteps. Slow. They stopped outside my bedroom door. The handle just twitched. 3:17. The lights flickered. The breathing started. And I don't think I can stay awake anymore. If you don't hear from me again, and if you ever decide to install a camera because something is watching you, make sure it's not watching back. Because once you try to see him, he sees you. And when you finally fall asleep, he comes all the way in. The door is opening. He's here. And he is smiling. Chapter 1. The Arrival. The Chequerfield estate in Pontefract looked like any other post-war housing development. Rows of identical houses, sitting under a dull, grey Yorkshire sky. But the moment we pulled up outside number 30, something changed. Dad turned off the engine. Silence. No one moved. It looked smaller than in the photos. my brother whispered. He was staring at the upstairs window. The curtain twitched. "It's just a house," Mum said, but her hand trembled as she reached for the door. We were here for a weekend ghost hunt. 30 East Drive, the most violent poltergeist case in European history, home of the Black Monk. Dad unlocked the door. It creaked open. A blast of freezing air hit us. Not normal cold. This was deep, biting, wrong. "Right, okay," Dad muttered. "Torches it is." We stepped inside. The hallway was narrow, the wallpaper peeled at the corners. The air smelled of soot and damp dust. I stepped onto the carpet and felt it. Pressure. Heavy. Like something was watching me. Not just my body, my thoughts. Chapter 2. The first signs. By 8 p.m, we were in the living room, sitting in a circle, torches cutting through the dark. "If there's anyone here," Mum said. Her voice echoed. Silence. Then, directly above us, like something heavy had dropped onto the floor. "Just the house settling, maybe," my brother said, but it moved closer. Footsteps, slow, heavy, crossing the landing, then dragging. Something was being pulled, something long and weighty. The temperature dropped, our breath fogged in the torchlight. I looked at the wall. A dark patch formed near the ceiling, liquid, seeping out of nowhere, thick, oily. It dripped slowly down the wallpaper. The smell hit next. Stagnant, rotten. "Did you hear that?" Dad whispered. From the kitchen, a drawer slid open. Slam, we ran. The kitchen was empty, but every cupboard stood open, wide. On the floor, a single spoon, vibrating. Chapter 3. The coal hole. The kitchen led to the coal hole, a small, cramped black space, where it all started. "I'm going in," my brother said. He stepped inside. 1 second, 2, then a scream. We rushed forward. He was pinned to the wall. "Something's got my legs." Dad grabbed him, pulled him hard and freed him. As he flew forward, he crashed into the table. We looked at his ankles. They're bruises, finger marks to be precise, but too long to be human. Behind us, the back door shook violently, like something was trying to break in. Then, a low sound crept through the floor, a deep, mocking growl. Chapter 4. The Monk. We moved to the stairs. Together, faster now. Dad stopped, his torch pointed upward. Something stood on the landing, a shape, darker than the dark, tall and still, watching. It had no face, just emptiness. "Back," Dad whispered. The air changed. My skin prickled. The figure raised an arm. It pointed at Mum, and then a picture frame exploded. There was glass everywhere, and something had struck her shoulder. A marble. From nowhere. We ran back into the living room. The door slammed. We pushed the sofa against it, and the wood bent inward. Something was pressing from the other side. Chapter 5. The bedroom upstairs. It was chaos. Furniture was crashing, dragging and breaking. "We're leaving," Mum said. We ran for the stairs. but the landing was covered in salt, coins, and marbles. We grabbed our bags. The bedroom door slammed. Then, slowly, the bed sheets rose, like something underneath them. Dad pulled them back. Nothing. Then, I felt it. A hand. Cold. It felt like it was clasped around my throat. I couldn't breathe. My feet lifted off the ground. My toes barely touched the carpet. For a split second I saw him, the monk, a face like rotting paper, eyes burning. Then I fell and hit the floor. Chapter 6. The Escape. Go! Dad shouted. We ran. The hallway erupted. Objects flew in the air like pictures, keys, ornaments. All of a sudden, a knife struck the wall just inches away from Dad. The front door was locked, and the keys were shaking in his hands, and then dropped to the floor. Behind us, a shadow moved, extremely fast. It was as if it was gliding, closer and closer.
Open it!
Mum screamed. My dad managed to grab the keys and fit the correct one into the keyhole. The lock clicked and we burst outside. The relief of feeling cold, real air was amazing. But in our panic, we ran to the car. We entered and slammed the door shut. Dad started the car, and the engine roared to life. As we sped away, I looked back to the upstairs window. Curtain pulled aside. A figure watching. Still, waiting. We didn't speak for 2 hours. Then my brother reached into his pocket, pulled something out. A small black stone. I didn't take this. Scratched into it. One word.
Soon.
We never went back. But sometimes, I hear it. Footsteps. The black monk follows fear. I grew up in the shadow of the Thornton Viaduct, a massive soot-stained ribcage of stone strangling the Pinchbeck Valley. People call it a landmark. I call it a predator. There's a legend about Fair Becca. The clean story says she was a Victorian girl who jumped, but the locals, the ones who never open their curtains, know the truth. Becca didn't just die. She became the valley's debt, and the valley always collects. I was 19 when my friend Danny decided to call the debt. Chapter 1. The Geometry of the Damned. The fog in Thornton doesn't roll in. It breathes, thick, yellow, smelling of wet iron and rotting flowers.
3 times, Elias.
Danny said. His torch cut a weak path through the mist.
Say her name under the 29th arch. 3 times. Then she'll show you how she fell.
Danny, let's just go to the pub. This place feels wrong. Under the viaduct, the air was dense, like being underwater. The stone pillars wept black, oily streaks. Danny ignored me. He stepped into the arch, cupped his hands and screamed,
Rebecca!
No echo, just muffled silence, as if the stones swallowed the sound.
Rebecca!
A crow fell from a branch, not flying, falling.
Rebecca!
The silence that followed was heavy, physical. My ears bled. And then, from 60 feet above. Chapter 2. The Wet Impact.
We didn't look up. Something heavy had fallen. Danny's torch caught a pile of white rags, but it wasn't cloth. It was skin. Translucent, waterlogged skin, stretched over shattered bones. She unfolded. A spider with broken legs, limbs snapping into place with sickening pops. Her head hung by a single tendon. Her face, gone. A vertical hole leaked thick black bile. Her eyes were nothing but weeping, obsidian craters.
Run!
I whispered. My legs refused. She moved. Not mud. Her organs shifted inside a body that could barely hold itself together. Chapter 3. The Scent of the Grave. We clawed up the embankment. Nettles tore at our hands. I looked back. She climbed the slope, using jagged bones of her arms like hooks. Wet, gurgling rattles escaped her throat, like pennies in a jar.
Witness!
We burst onto Thornton Road. The orange streetlights were a sanctuary, but Danny's face, sprayed with tiny black droplets. She touched me, he whispered. I can't feel my spine. Behind him, at the edge of the light, she waited, tilted at 45 degrees, not chasing, marking. Chapter 4. The Clicking in the Walls. A week later, Danny stopped being Danny, locked in his terrace house. Mirrors taped over, smell of rotting lilies and industrial grease. He lifted his shirt. Dark purple bruises lined his spine. His ribs flared at unnatural angles. She's heavy, Elias, he whimpered. She wants to use my bones to stand. Above him, the ceiling cracked. Black bile dripped on his forehead. Okay, he whispered. Take the weight. Chapter 5. The ceiling's debt. The door wouldn't open. Pressure held it shut. The ceiling collapsed upward. Danny lifted off the chair. Limbs snapped, neck ground like millstones. Eyes gone, replaced by black holes. The valley is hungry, he said, and I'm finally light. He was sucked into the ceiling. No struggle, no blood. Just two wet, black footprints and the smell of rotting lilies that never left. Chapter 6. The Infection of Gravity. I moved to London. I thought distance would save me, but gravity is the same everywhere. Dreams of falling, endless black void, then the clicking. Walls, pipes, every corner. Yesterday I looked in the mirror. For a second it wasn't me. Danny stood behind me, blue translucent hand on my spine, cold, intense. I blacked out. I woke up on my balcony, 14 stories up, toes over the edge, not afraid, desperate to stop the clicking. Chapter 7. The Last Arch. I woke up under the 29th arch in Thornton. I didn't drive here. Don't remember how I arrived. Fog thick. I can't see my hands. Dozens of them. Not just Becca. Not just Danny. Children who vanished in the 50s. Workers from 1870. A forest of broken people tilted toward me. My neck itches. A rhythmic snapping. Release. I walk toward the stairs. Up. The valley below looks like an open grave. The viaduct not stone. Billions of calcified bones holding the weight of the world. Wind whispers my name. Not a threat, an invitation. I see Danny, arms broken, reaching.
Catch me, Elias,
He gurgles. I lean forward. Stone ripples. Gravity claims its debt. If you ever visit the valley, don't look at the arches. And if you hear clicking in your walls, don't look up. She's just looking for a new place to land.
I've always been a creature of the night. While most people chase the sun, I find clarity when the world is asleep. That's why I took the job at the Rusty Anchor, a 24-hour diner tucked into the jagged corner of Gary, Indiana's industrial district. The air always smelled of old fry oil, steel mills, and loneliness. My co-workers were ghosts in their own right. Old Pete had been flipping burgers since Kennedy was president. His skin was like cured leather. And then there was me, a college dropout, searching for meaning at 4 a.m. in the bottom of a coffee cup. To pass the night, Pete told stories. Truckers vanishing on I-65. The lady in white haunting the freezer. But one stormy night, the sky bruised purple. He leaned over the counter and whispered, "Have you ever heard of the hash slinger?" I laughed. "You mean the SpongeBob story? Come on, Pete. I'm 24, not 6. Pete didn't blink. "The show didn't invent the name. They sanitized it. The real one. He wasn't a cartoon." He told me about Elias Vane, 1954, the fastest cook in the state. A freak accident with a meat grinder tore off his arm, and the diner's greedy owner fired him while he was still in the hospital. The legend says Elias came back a week later, repaired himself with a spatula bolted into his stump. He didn't want his job back. He wanted a final order. "The signals," Pete whispered. "Lights flicker. The phone rings. Walls, they sweat. Not water, not grease. Something dark. Something that smells like the grave." 2 weeks later, Pete didn't show up. Not like him. I was alone, manning the grill. The diner was empty except for the neon sign buzzing like a trapped hornet. At 3 a.m., the air thickened. My ears popped. The second hand on the clock twitched back and forth. The lights began to flicker. Like a heartbeat. Then the payphone rang. It hadn't worked in 3 years. I approached it. The linoleum felt soft, almost organic beneath my boots. "Hello," I whispered. Static, and then a wet, rhythmic thud. "Is this a joke?" I muttered. "Pete, it's not funny." A voice whispered directly into my mind.
"Order for Vane."
I slammed the phone. My heart raced. I ran to the grill, but the walls were weeping. Thick, dark green sludge pulsed from the grout, smelling of copper, burnt hair, and rot. Then I saw it. The bus. An old rusted transit bus from the 1950s, drifting silently into the lot. No driver, no engine. The doors hissed open. Out stepped a figure. Impossibly tall. Chef's hat yellowed with age. Apron a patchwork of black grease. Brown blood, green slime. His left arm ended in a stump, a massive razor-sharp spatula bolted to the bone. He walked to the grill with a jerky, mechanical limp. "Stay back!" I yelled, clutching a carving knife. He ignored me. Scraping the grill, he skewered thousands of order tickets onto the rail. Dried, translucent like skin.
"You work the graveyard shift."
He he rasped. The diner dissolved into an endless void of grills and fryers. My hand turned grey and tight, bones shifting painfully. I swung the knife. It passed through him like smoke. His spatula pressed against my chest. My vision blurred. The heat of 1,000 grills burned around me. I woke at 6 a.m. The sun painted the steel mills in orange and pink. Sarah, the morning cook, shook my shoulder.
Hey, did you pull an all-nighter on the floor?
I looked at the grill. Black carbon covered it. Just a dream, I whispered. But then Sarah pointed at the floor. A trail of dark green sludge led to the counter. And there, where he had stood, was a single rusted spatula, bolted to a piece of human bone. I quit that day, moved 3 states away, never stepped foot in a diner after midnight. 6 months later, the dreams haven't stopped. Last night, my phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. And this morning, a small circular scar had formed on my left wrist. A bolt. The bus is coming back. This time, the order is for me.
If you are based in the UK and would like to enjoy freshly batch roasted coffee delivered to your door, visit vitalcoffee.co.uk and use the coupon code mrfreakystory to get 10% off from all products. I will leave a link in the description below.